Welcome to Aesthetically Speaking with Felicia Lisa Middleton.
Hello and welcome again to Aesthetically Speaking, where we are building conversations about Philadelphia's locations. This season, Season 2, we're discussing planning and building food facilities. Today we have Siobhan Washington with us. Welcome, Siobhan.
Thank you.
Siobhan is an interior designer. Siobhan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am, again, Siobhan Washington. My company is CY Wash Design. I also have a custom home accessories company called Pillow Pillows, where we handcraft home decor. I have worked with Lisa on restaurants. I do a lot of conceptual design for commercial spaces.
And the reason why I have Siobhan here is because we're talking about the design of restaurants. And in the design of restaurants, often you're going to use more than one type of design professional. Again, Siobhan says she's an interior designer. We have collaborated on a restaurant, and we've also collaborated on the possibility of other restaurants in the past. And we've collaborated on projects that are outside of just restaurants. But the importance of having a design professional that's not just your architect on board is good because they can focus on materials, on specifications. Now, Siobhan, just talk to me a little bit about the project that we worked on. We won't name the project, but it was in West Philadelphia. It was an interesting project.
It's interesting.
You did a very good job, I must say. You did a very good job on the design of the restaurant. Siobhan worked on what we call front of house, and she brought me in during the process to work on back of house. That's very important to have two separate entities working on these because there are specialists in different fields. I don't specialize in front of house. I have done front of house, but it's not a specialty of mine. I am in love with back of house, as we've discussed before.
Yeah.
But Siobhan is awesome in front of house. She does an amazing job with her front of house design. And so tell us a little bit about how that project moved along, the whole process that we went through with that.
Well, I want to back up because I feel the same way you do. When I get a restaurant project, the first thing I'm doing, if the budget allows, is I'm reaching out to Lisa because I don't have anything to do with the back of the house. I don't have anything to do with the. There's so many technical aspects to the back of the house, and there's so many different legalities that have to be followed when you're dealing with back of the house, and it's just not my thing. It's definitely Lisa's expertise, something that she's excellent at. And for me, I've had to learn in business where I've had to submit because you're just not going to be good at everything, and you're not going to. So you have to learn where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and where your weaknesses are. You bring those stronger people in to do that. So whenever I'm doing a restaurant, Lisa can automatically count on me calling her for backing out. I don't have anything to do with it. So the project that we worked on was a restaurant project. And initially, they hired me to do the conceptual design. So basically, I was coming up with the whole concept of the restaurant and the design aspect of the restaurant. And then it kind of snowballed into the. I always get hired for the front of the house, and then it's like, oh, well, what about? And I'm like, that's two different things. And I think it's just so important that when people are doing restaurants, that they understand that.
I'm so glad you said that.
I don't think
my
they get
goodness.
it.
I don't think people. I think what happens is just like what you said. It snowballed into the back of house. That happens to me a lot with the front of house, and I tell people that's not my specialty. That's stay in your lane. That's your whole thing. Again, we might know how to do it, but that's not my. First of all, I don't know the latest trends in restaurant front of house materials. I know the latest trends in styles, and I can do an overall style. But I'm not good when it comes to focusing on materials and paints and colors, trends. I mean, all of these things, and people don't really think about the fact that your job affects the customer.
Yeah.
I mean, both of our jobs affects the customers, but yours affects the mood. I have been in restaurants, and tell me if you haven't had this experience where you just feel like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
I have had that feeling where I got it, and you don't understand why. It can be clean.
Yeah.
It can have nice music, but it's just because of the way it's laid out and the feel that you get when you're in the space, it just doesn't work.
No.
And that's why you're important.
And the other part of that too is that just being able to when we talk about restaurants being clean, sometimes when a space is over stylized, it's harder to maintain. So it's about keeping the simplicity in the design so that it can be easily maintained. And I just think that when people are setting out to do restaurants, they need to pay, I would say honestly, more attention to the back of the house than they do the front of the house, because it's so easy to to give an aesthetic to a space that is conveys the atmosphere that you want the customer to experience. The back of the house, if the back of the house doesn't work and it's not functional,
then you don't have a restaurant. I
have a
agree
restaurant.
with that. Actually, I have a chef that's a consultant of mine, just like you, and the chef says everything starts with the menu. And actually, when you go to restaurant shows and trade shows, one of the things that they say all the time is, if your back of house, just like you said, is not planned well, if it's not taking up as much space as it needs for the restaurant to function properly, then it doesn't matter what your front of house is.
Yeah.
And sometimes people spend a lot of time wanting more space out in the front. But even in today's market, we know that the front of house is dwindling because of mobile orders, because of takeout.
Absolutely.
So these kind of things are not as important as it used to be when you sit down and you get the whole experience.
Yeah, because a lot of people they do have other options now for dining.
Yes.
I mean, the whole dine-in experience is not necessarily the same when you have comparatives like Uber Eats, or even a lot of companies that are promoting farm to table and how you can dine at home. So,
or even food halls.
Yeah, food hall. I mean,
I've had big experience with food halls in the last year, and that's a crazy trend that's going on through the world. Yeah. But just like you said, the dine-in experience is not as big.
Food trucks, that's another.
Yes. I love food trucks. Yes. We can go on and on about food trucks.
So people have these other options, and to me, the experiences that I've had with restaurants, people will call me and they'll say, "Oh, I need this concept. I was telling you, I designed a restaurant in New York," and then it turned into, eventually, we kept going, it turned into this whole thing with back of the house. And I'm like, if you want me to be involved, you're gonna have to rewrite this service agreement.
And then people don't understand that.
Yeah.
That's one of the things.
And luckily, in that particular case, one of the owners of that particular restaurant was very committed to being knowledgeable to what they needed. He knew about the amount of wattage, like a lot of the amount of amps that he could have. Yeah, he was really committed to understanding what was going to work for that back of the house. So that's the only reason why I engaged. But if it was solely on me to figure out, I would have been like, "Hey, Lisa, you need to come to Harlem."
And listen, there's some restaurants where I've seen the owners like that. Actually, there's some owners that they will do their own design. I've actually schmoozed a couple of well-known restaurant chains in Philadelphia, and they said, "Oh, the owner does all the designs." So, I mean, God bless the owners that want to take that on. I mean, I know I can't do everything in my own business. I can't do my own taxes. I can't change my own oil in my car. So there's some things I leave it to the person that has an expertise in that field. Just like, again, back to front of house. When it comes to a design look, I want somebody that I would love for my clients to want this as much as I want it.
Yeah.
Doesn't always turn out that way. I actually have a client now that said, "Well, we're going to let the contractor design it." Good luck.
And I think people need to understand that too, that everyone's role is different in terms of design. That's why the design aspect of it needs to be isolated.
I agree.
Because the contractor is the doer. He is the person that
he follows the instructions that you lay out. This set of plans that we give them, he follows the set of plans. And just talk, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we talked a little bit before we started about the design process and how the contractor, when you think about the whole process, they don't come in until step 3.
They're way down the road, because
exactly.
I mean, you're bringing them in initially and you're telling them rough ideas. You get your plans and you start to ask them what you can and cannot do, or what's the most cost effective way to approach. But I mean, it's so important to have these different people involved. The architect that can help you with the back of the house and the technicalities of that. The design person who's bringing in the aesthetic. The contractor and it's very important for everyone to kind of like stay in their lane. I don't have a problem
Yes.
whatsoever saying,
That's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, it's kind of like at the job where people say, that's not my job. Yeah, I'm that person.
And actually, be happy when your design professional tells you that. And even with a restaurant, there's usually about 5 of us that you are going to deal with.
Yeah, you're going to
in the
deal
whole
with.
process. You're going to deal with architects, and if you really want a well done restaurant, you're going to deal with architects, interior designers. You're going to deal with. If you have structural engineers, you're going to deal with structural, you're going to deal with mechanical, electrical. So you're going to deal with different mechanics, and you're going to have a set of plans for everything. So your set of plans is not going to just be one sheet. So when we talk about the design process and you go back to it, you might be handed one sheet in the beginning. Don't think that you can take that and run.
No. I remember another restaurant, was that in West Philly too? With the young man, and we sat down with the developer.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about. I think that was Southwest.
Okay.
That was Southwest Philly, but yeah.
But in that case, we had to explain that. Listen, you need. I mean, because that was not even vanilla box. They were doing.
That was still under construction.
Yeah, they were under construction, and we're like, hey, you need all these different sets of drawings, and I didn't even understand that. I was like. Lisa, what? Explain to me again. I gotta write this down. What, because there's so many aspects to your restaurant that go outside of that initial concept or that field. It's like, okay, what's up with my mechanics? What's up with my electricity? What's up with my plumbing? And all of those require a different set of drawings.
Yeah. Now there are times I have done that's where I don't stay in my lane sometimes. It's only because I've learned. I have done mechanical drawings, I've done electrical, and I've done plumbing. But it's usually when it's a small restaurant, and because I was trained to do it when I learned how to do restaurants. But I always qualify my client by telling them I can do this for you under the direction of your plumber and your electrician. I need them to school me because, again, that's not what I'm supposed to do. I can do it, yes, and some townships only require a basic layout, and that's when I do it. When there's just a basic layout required, and I have the electrician look at it, and they tell me, oh, this is okay, they do the load counts. Or I'll have the plumber look at it, and they'll tell me this is okay, and they might add a couple of notes about backflow prevention and that kind of thing. But I try to, again, stay in my lane, and sometimes I cross it, but a lot of times, we stay in our particular part of the field, even when we have budget-conscious clients.
I stay in my I don't have nothing.
You just stick right
I stay right in that lane of design, and I don't have any problem whatsoever picking up that phone and say, Lisa, I got this bootleg project.
And we use that a lot. We use that. It's so funny. But I don't, and one lane I don't get in is yours. I'll tell you that right now. But I get that talk about my contractor will design it, and I go, ooh. Well, I'll design it myself, and I go, oh. I have a team of interior designers. Any of them I can send you. But when people hear sometimes these terms, they see price tags.
Well, they get intimidated.
Exactly. But you don't understand it costs money to open a restaurant. They don't understand.
Well, the other part of it is having that professional is saving you money.
Yes.
Because when you do it and it's not right and it looks crazy, then you gotta call somebody in and fix it. I mean, it just does not make sense.
Yeah, and that's where I really did have a lot of respect for the client that we worked on in West Philly because they did focus on letting you create a nice warm atmosphere in a restaurant that was in the middle of an inner city neighborhood. I mean, the front of house was so nice. I mean, really, I would still have changed the process around for that and done back of house first because that's what I've learned is more important. But the front of house final product of that restaurant gave such a warm, inviting feeling for a restaurant that was in the middle of a neighborhood where there's so much going on outside. Yeah. It's like once you got inside, you didn't know where you were.
And as a designer, I do think that back of the house is priority. And I would always, if a person calls me to talk about conceptual design, my question is, well, what's your plan for the back of the house and what's your budget? And if you have a $50,000 budget and you're telling me that $30,000 of it is for aesthetics and $20,000, I'm like,
I have seen back of houses that are $90,000.
Yeah. I'm like,
$50,000 for a restaurant is very inexpensive.
yes, but I'm saying that whatever your number is, the majority of that should be going to the back of the house.
I do, and you have to consider all of the. I feel like, and I talk about this in my manual. I feel like you have to put a price number for each one of these aspects. Have something set aside. Understand that design is going to cost a certain amount. Architecture, separate from design, is going to cost a certain amount. Engineering, which is fastly becoming very important. A lot of places are not letting you get drawings through without getting mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineering drawings. That's going to take a significant part of your budget. And then construction, then materials and construction. So you're talking about all of us, what we're doing when it comes to the paper, the theory, before you even get to the actual physical features of the restaurant.
It's a lot. And I feel sorry for people who underestimate the process, like the one particular project that we dealt with. And I'm like, And for me, I think it's a part, running a business, I mean, you have to have a sense of integrity. And I told that young man, like, if this is what you don't have allocated to do this, you should not be doing this. I don't want to take your money. And that's why we didn't.
And that's a good way of I try to tell people from the beginning, watch Shark Tank. They will that Kevin, Mr. Wonderful, will tell you need a certain amount of money to open a restaurant. Oh, you can't do that. He'll tell people you can't do it. And that's the way you have to look at it. If you're unless you're buying a space or renting a space that was once a restaurant in the past, you will spend a large chunk of more than most businesses use to start just to open up that restaurant. And it's very important to get that financial part in the very beginning. I think that's like step 4 in our manual when we talk about the complete guide to creating tasty spaces. We talk about how it's very important that you have your budget in place. And a lot of people have, where do you get this number in mind? And I'm like, where'd you get that number from?
You need to bring these people in, show them your space, and say, okay, how much would you cost? How much does it cost to design it?
Exactly.
Then you bring in Lisa, and you say, okay, how much is it going to cost for a back of the house? Then you bring in your contractor and say, how much do you think? You need to bring these people in and allow them to give you your numbers versus you creating this number that you think or what you can do. And the last restaurant that I worked on in New York, same thing. They were like, this is how much we're going to spend. I'm like, if that's your number, you don't need to be opening a restaurant.
And see, that's where, I say that to people a lot. When we were doing the restaurants in the area that were union conscious, and when I say union conscious, this is Philadelphia. You open up a restaurant in certain areas in Philly, you're going to have a rat, big old inflatable rat sitting outside the restaurant if you don't hire union. Well, what does union do? Union increases your fees astronomically. We're talking about 3-4 times the cost of a regular restaurant.
Absolutely.
So the gentleman, he was from New York. That's what's funny. I don't know what union style is in New York, but I know he came here in the union conscious area, and he had a price in mind that he had spent in New York. And he asked the contractor first, and the contractor told him a price, and he thought he lost his mind because the contractor was trying to explain to him this is a union shop.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I spent half that amount on my restaurant in New York, and that's including equipment and blah, blah. And I was saying to him, that's not possible. I don't understand where that number is coming from. I mean, but you're looking at union shop compared to regular.
I mean, for me, if I was to design a restaurant in New York, I know that is the culture, but I still would prefer a private contractor.
Oh yeah, I prefer. I don't have a problem respecting union shops, but I do prefer private contractors because I know how it is to be in business as a private person, and you need to be able to stay afloat.
You need
so
to sustain.
I will respect the rule of thumb for unions.
Points.
Yes, price point. Because what it does is it cuts down our profits.
Yeah, we can't afford it.
We can't.
Yeah, you cut into my.
Unless you have union money.
Yeah, you cut into my point. No.
Exactly. We'll be union if we want to.
Yeah, but, we should be.
Why don't we start our own?
Yeah, we on the wrong side. We on the wrong side of the track.
We start a design union. Well, I always enjoy talking with Siobhan about design and also working on projects, and look forward to seeing us collaborating on projects in the future. And I'm so happy that you came out to talk with us today about design and giving your input, because it's very important for people to hear you're part of it. That interior designers are very important in the whole process. So we thank you again for joining us, and thank you for tuning in to Aesthetically Speaking. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, look up CY
Design.
I'm sorry. I know so many. It's just so hard to keep up. But look up Siobhan. Google Siobhan Washington. See her projects. Check her out. Check out our site, foodiebuilder.com. And we look forward to talking to you again on Aesthetically Speaking.